好，我是许佩文。第三代基因检测是很多寻求辅助生殖的父母常常听到的一个话题，但是到底什么是第三代基因检测，而谁又应该考虑使用第三代基因检测呢？今天我们特别请到刚刚被任命为基因检测公司 Sma 首席医疗执行长的 Dr. Kaufman 为我们来解答。
Genetics is the forefront of reproductive medicine. It amazes me what we now know we didn't know in the past. I mean, there are 3 billion base pairs, and there's so many things that have to go right in order for a couple to have a healthy baby. But first it starts with doing some basic tests on the mom and the dad, and figuring out if they're at risk of having an unhealthy baby. If it turns out that they're at risk of not having a healthy baby, then we could screen an embryo for the disease that they're at risk of having. For example, we could test an embryo, the PGD, pre-implantation genetic diagnosis, we could test an embryo to see if there's a mistake in the code and it's going to have a baby with cystic fibrosis, with Tay-Sachs disease, with sickle cell anemia, with conditions that
How many diseases can we test it for now?
These days, we routinely test parents to see if they're at risk of passing on 281 diseases. I'd say that number will go to 500 within the next 2 to 3 years, and I think all 5,000 monogenic diseases, disease caused by one genetic mistake in the code, I think that we're going to be able to, in the future, test parents to see if they're at risk of having an unhealthy baby, and then screen the embryo to make sure that it's not an embryo that's going to cause a baby with suffering.
But who should consider to take this kind of genetic test?
These days, we're recommending that all couples consider having genetic testing before they get pregnant or even when they get pregnant to make sure that the pregnancy is as healthy as it can be. The next component is once we're doing in vitro fertilization, we're testing an embryo to see if it's chromosomally normal or not. And that's PGS, pre-implantation genetic screening. So we're testing how many copies of chromosome 1 and 2 and 3. If there are 3 copies of chromosome 21, for example, the baby can have Down syndrome, and that can cause a lot of health problems. Most couples get the testing, and 3% of couples are going to be at risk of having an unhealthy baby. Those are the ones that need PGD. When a couple is going through in vitro, almost 90% of them are electing to screen the embryos with PGS because we can find the single healthiest embryo to have the highest likelihood of having a healthy baby, and we can minimize the chance of miscarriages, of failed cycles, and of complicated pregnancies.
And how many fertility centers or reproductive centers have access to this kind of technology these days?
So there are about 450 centers in the United States, and I'd say that the top 10% are routinely using this technology. Ultimately, our success rates are higher and higher, and the chance of a miscarriage or an unhealthy pregnancy has gone down dramatically since we routinely started testing. I think that's the future.
US is way advanced in many ways in terms of the medical advancement, but China is catching up fast. And you're at the forefront of the genetic testing here, but what do you see your counterpart, China, their future would be?
I truly believe that there's nothing that will prevent China and Chinese clinics from matching the excellence that we now have achieved in the United States. Technology is becoming more accessible. Routine genetic screening of embryos is part of our future. The future of reproductive medicine, it's precise, it is genomic, having to do with the DNA. It's using information, big data, to help translate into a healthy patient outcome. And I believe that China is the perfect opportunity for us to deliver this high-quality genetic care as part of the reproductive experience.
用最尖端的医疗技术，结合个性化及专业的流程管理，为中国客户提供最好的辅助生殖服务，是 RMA 与会医共同努力的目标。会医祝您孕，祝您美运成真。我们下周再会。